As seen in Rogue One, General Davits Draven was stationed upon Yavin 4 in the period just prior to the Galactic Civil War. Having served in the Republic's military intelligence during the Clone War, Draven rose to become a trusted officer in the Rebellion and one of its leading intelligence agents. Overseeing the mission known as Operation Fracture, which would attempt to determine Galen Erso's contributions to the Imperial Death Star project, Draven remained skeptical of his daughter Jyn and her efforts to obtain the battle station's plans on Scarif. But unlike Jyn, Draven would survive to see the destruction of the Death Star and the beginning of the Galactic Civil War. So then it must be asked, what happened to General Draven following the events of Rogue One? In this video expose, I will answer this question, and let's just say up front, it doesn't end well. Having succeeded in locating King Lee Char and successfully igniting the mutiny on Mon Cala through the efforts of Princess Leia, roughly 1 year after the Battle of Yavin, the Rebellion was able to recruit the Mon Cala mercantile fleet to their efforts against the Empire. In the months following the mutiny, the Rebellion utilized the Makota space docks within the Outer Rim to outfit the newly acquired Mon Calamari starcruisers with systems that would be crucial in their war against the Empire, forming the core of the Rebellion fleet. In the aftermath of Yavin, and having not yet chosen Hoth, the space docks also operated as the Rebellion's permanent base of operations, serving as a shipyard and production center as they were hiding from the Empire. To reveal their new ships to their allies and celebrate the acquisition of their expanding fleet, the Rebellion held a party at the space docks. But just as Mon Mothma was finishing her speech and the fleet attempted to enter hyperspace, the Rebellion realized that their hyperspace systems weren't operational. To make matters worse, they were caught in a trap, betrayed by Queen Trios, the woman who played a crucial role in the Rebellion's efforts on Mon Cala. Unable to enter hyperspace, the Rebellion could only watch as Vader's flagship the Executor and Death Squadron emerged from hyperspace. Once Vader recognized that there was a sufficient level of fear spreading over the enemies of the Empire, he began his assault on the Rebel cruisers. At the same time, the Rebellion recognized that it wasn't only the hyperspace systems offline, but also the propulsion engines, turbo lasers, and the cargo bay doors, the latter meaning that they were unable to scramble fighters. Thus, they were truly helpless against Vader and the Imperial fleet. Important for our video, General Draven was present upon the space docks at this time. After Leia and Rebel General Bandwin Khor led a boarding party on Queen Trios' ship to capture her, thereby preventing her escape and forcing her to abandon her vessel through an escape pod, the intelligence agent was able to begin looking into the database of Trios' ship to hopefully find a potential solution to the lockdown. These efforts would help the Rebellion discover how to utilize the failsafes to open the hangar doors of the cruisers to allow for the starfighters of the Rebellion to enter the battle, which Luke and Han would then spread to the other cruisers. But without the hyperspace systems online, the Rebel cruisers would be decimated by Vader and his fleet. Fortunately, Draven and Leia had a breakthrough on board Trios' ship. One of Draven's specialists was able to discover an override code that would allow for all systems on board the cruisers to be rebooted. There was only one problem. The code wasn't present within the files on Trios' ship, but on the Executor. Recognizing that getting on board the Superstar Destroyer was nearly impossible, Leia and Draven devised a plan. Using the transponder codes from Trios' ship, and with Leia impersonating the Queen herself, Draven would take a handful of his special forces to fight their way through the Executor and locate the codes. Although there would be a significant risk to Leia, she would also go along, as she felt responsible for having vouched for Trios and for having brought her into the efforts of the Rebellion. Fortunately for the Rebel strike team, Leia successfully impersonated Trios, and her ship worked in tricking the Empire that the Queen herself was attempting to rendezvous with them. Given permission by the Executor to land in Vader's own private docking bay, the Special Forces of Draven successfully landed upon the flagship. However, as they watched yet another Mon Cala cruiser explode, they also noticed Vader approaching in his TIE Advanced X-1. While Leia, Draven, and the Special Forces would flee and attempt to locate the codes, Vader recognized that it wasn't Trios, but intruders who entered the Executor, and began to hunt down the rebels. As the strike team completed their extraction of the files and codes needed to reboot the cruisers, Leia and Draven recognized that Vader was in pursuit, having cut down the rearguard of the strike team. While Vader confirmed that there were rebels on board, the strike team attempted to escape to the nearest hangar bay, locking down and sealing all doors behind them to hinder Vader and the Imperials pursuing them. But when they got to the hangar, the rebels were dismayed to find that there was only a single TIE fighter there, and therefore, there wasn't room for all of them. At that point, Leia turned to Draven and offered to give him the codes to take back to the rebel fleet, while she and the strike team distracted the Sith Lord. However, Draven would have none of it, telling Leia to get in the TIE and successfully complete the mission to return the codes to the cruiser. Interestingly, although Draven wanted it this way because of his responsibility to the mission and for payback against Trios, he also felt it was his duty, given it had always stayed with him that Jyn was the hero who succeeded in extracting the battle station plans on Scarif, and he was the guy who was wrong. Looking to right that wrong, Draven told Leia to get on board the TIE fighter, and he took his special forces to slow down Vader. Having taken their positions, Vader began cutting through the sealed door with his lightsaber, and reminiscent of the Rogue One scene, began cutting down the rebels until only Draven was left standing. Having started to force choke the rebel intelligence officer, Draven boasted that Vader lost, as all he and his special forces had to do was slow him down and give Leia time to escape. As Vader delivers one of my all-time favorite lines, he broke Draven's neck, killing him on board the Executor. Ultimately, Leia would successfully make it back to one of the Mon Cala cruisers. Delivering the codes obtained on the Executor, all systems were made operational, and the cruiser escaped to hyperspace. Thanks to the efforts of Draven, the rebellion could prepare for the next phase in its war against the Empire. So there we have it. What happened to General Draven following the events of Rogue One? We love making these videos, so why not subscribe for more fun Star Wars theories and discussions? Also, if you enjoyed the video, think about giving a like or leaving a comment. Or perhaps follow us on Twitter at SW Reading Club for updates regarding the channel. Or support the channel through Patreon for access to exclusive rewards and discussions. If not for me... For round 2.